各位朋友，大家下午好！欢迎各位参加由 Mentoring 导师学院和组织隐形技能管理全球智库 GO-TKM 联合主办的组织隐形技能管理大师系列讲座50场。今天是第22场，由来自以色列的 Dan Asher 博士主讲。他给我们带来的话题是用剥洋葱的方式深度解密隐性知识。那在这之前，首先让我们来认识一下今天的演讲嘉宾。Dan Asher 博士，他来自以色列。那他曾经是以色列总理办公室的首席学习创新和知识管理官。他在以色列总理办公室工作了20多年，然后在这期间参与了以色列学习与知识管理领域的各种研发活动，并与国际社会开展合作。那他目前也是以色列知识管理论坛的高级董事会成员。他是隐性知识管理领域的专家，他还专门开发了这个洋葱模型。这洋葱模型是他今天要给我们带来主题的一个核心。这个模型它一方面可以帮助我们对隐性知识进行分类，另一方面也可以帮我们更深入的去探索隐性知识。那他专长的领域除了知识管理、隐性知识以外，还有学习策略、数字化转型以及人际互动方面的技能。人际互动里有访谈、影响力和谈判技能。那说到谈判，他今天也会专门给我们带来关于商业谈判专家的案例，来让我们进一步认识隐性知识。今天讲座的主办方是 Mentoring 导师学院和组织隐性技能管理全球智库 GO-TKM。那 Mentoring 蒙科是源自1981年冠军头部企业服务商，是企业导师技术及组织隐形技能管理的教育咨询全球知名品牌。Mentoring 蒙科我们的总部是在比利时布鲁塞尔，我们在全球有近600名专业顾问，然后在41个国家和地区为跨国公司、国际组织以及政府机构等提供组织隐形技能萃取和企业导师传承相结合的培训和咨询服务。那我们在业界呢也是久负盛名。Mentoring 蒙科中国是专注在我们国内本土市场，然后开展企业导师制以及组织隐形技能管理的培训和咨询。我们同时也提供欧洲导师与教练协会 EMCC 认证的导师课程，是目前 EMCC 受证的中国唯一导师服务机构，也是国际职业导师协会 IPMA 在中国的独家授权合作伙伴，也是组织隐形技能管理全球智库 GO-TKM 的理事单位。而我们另一个主办方是组织隐形技能管理全球智库 GO-TKM。那 GO-TKM 是注册在比利时布鲁塞尔的非营利性国际智库。智库的成立旨在推动组织隐形技能管理在全社会的运用，然后推动人类的高效率学习。那现在我们就把我们的舞台交给今天的演讲嘉宾 Dan Asher 博士。Okay, now let's warmly welcome Dr. Dan Asher.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Asher, and I'm from Israel. And I'm very happy to be here and share some of my thoughts about Tacit Knowledge in the GO-TKM forum. A little bit about myself. I've been working in the field of knowledge management for many years. In my last position, I served as the head of knowledge management, CKO, and head of learning innovation in the public sector. These days, I work as a private consultant and help organizations unleash human potential by eliciting tacit knowledge of experts and using it and utilizing it to different processes along the organization. I have a master's degree in clinical criminology, and my PhD dissertation dealt with the idea of extracting tacit knowledge in professions based on interpersonal interactions. And I would like to speak with you a little bit about some of these ideas during this lecture. So first of all, let me share my screen. Okay, in a minute. I would like to share it again so you will see the full presentation. Okay, now you are supposed to see my my presentation in full view. So I'm going to speak with you about the idea of tacit knowledge as a multi-layer phenomena. And my first claim, you can understand from this slide, that tacit knowledge is not a term, but actually a phenomena. And it has a lot of importance to the way we look on tacit knowledge. So we all know this known quote coined by Michael Polanyi, that we know more than we can tell. And I think that from the day this quote was raised up, many people all over the world gave a lot of attention to the idea of tacit knowledge and thought, what can we do with this idea? And actually, Michael Polanyi spoke about the idea that we have a tacit knowing, okay? So we know things that we cannot codify into words and verbalize everything we know. And this idea led to different kinds of aspects, reviews, and researches. And I would like to speak with you about this issue in this lecture. First of all, we're going to speak about the idea of what is tacit knowledge. Then I'm going to introduce the conceptual dichotomy that we live for many years without a clear solution. Then I'm going to present the onion model. This is the model I developed during my PhD studies. And I would like to demonstrate the idea on the case of business negotiation experts. So first of all, what is tacit knowledge? This is something that I can show you in a minute. Okay, I would like to use a small video. And this video does not aim to show all the aspects of tacit knowledge. It does concentrate on physical tacit knowledge, this knowledge that sometimes we have even in our fingertips. So I would like to share with you this movie in a minute. Let's watch it together. Okay, so I hope you like this video as I like these videos that run all over the internet. It looks so simple, like something anyone can do, but actually, when you try to do that, you can tell to yourself that this guy is a magician. Okay, how does he do that? And think about other kind of professions that are more complex, and people manage to perform their tasks in a very complex way and get to great solutions. So this is the idea of tacit knowledge. Let's go back to the presentation, and I'll share my screen again. So sharing. Okay. Okay, now you're supposed to see my full screen. And I like to speak, first of all, about the agreements about what is tacit knowledge. And we know that there are not many agreements around the idea of tacit knowledge. I can tell you that I reviewed most of the literature in this field and read a lot of books and papers, and I found only 3 agreements. Okay, and maybe after this session, I will hear that these agreements are not that totally agreed. The first agreement is that tacit knowledge is personal. So we speak about a knowledge that is mine. Okay, this is the way I interpret the world. This is the way I choose to solve problems. Okay, so imagine to yourself that this tacit knowledge is unique to every person. I can give you a clue to this idea by speaking about, for example, a salesman. Okay, a salesman can sell you a product in many different methods. Okay, he will choose methods that are likely to be close to his way of thinking, to his personality. So this tacit knowledge is personal. This is why we have a lot of problems and challenges when we want to make this knowledge more general and conclude from this knowledge for learning or teaching materials in the organization. The second agreement is that it is experience-based. Okay, so we know that as much as we gain experience, we create and gain new tacit knowledge. It doesn't mean that this tacit knowledge is in a high quality. We know that experts gain high quality tacit knowledge, but others can gain tacit knowledge that not necessarily is relevant or good enough in order to perform the tasks. The third agreement is that it is a procedural knowledge. So tacit knowledge is not about what, it's about how to do things. And we humans are more likely to speak about what or about why and less about how. And this knowledge is how to do things, how to create things, and how to deal with a task that we should do in the world. And even if we think about tacit knowledge of the ways of thinking, this is way of thinking how to do things. Okay, so this is tacit knowledge. It is personal, it is experience-based, and it is procedural. Let's go on and let's start and speak about the conceptual dichotomy. The conceptual dichotomy is actually a way to explain that most of the people are in one of these sides. Okay, there are people that will claim that tacit knowledge can be codified and shared. In this side, we can find the Secchi model, for example, and especially practitioners that work with organization and look at the organization as one unit and not on the personal level. And they will claim that tacit knowledge can be codified and shared. On the other side, we have people that will say tacit knowledge can only be demonstrated. Everything you see, everything you try to claim that it is tacit knowledge, it is not tacit knowledge. It's only tacit knowledge that was not documented before. It is some kind of explicit knowledge. And this dichotomy goes on for more than 50 years. Okay, we keep on speaking about the idea that tacit knowledge is in one of these sides. And this dichotomy caused many people to claim that tacit knowledge is not relevant, exceeds its reputation, should be ignored, or maybe we should come up with new ideas and new terms. And we hear many different terms that people use because they don't want to use the term tacit knowledge. And the origin of this point of view is the conceptual dichotomy that was not solved up for these days. Now I would like to present you my model, the onion model. I also published this idea in an article with my mentor, Professor Micha Popper, Tacit Knowledge as a multi-layer phenomena, the onion model. It is published at the Learning Organization magazine. And we claim that tacit knowledge is actually a phenomena with different layers. And these layers are connected, interconnected, and interride one with another. Let me try to demonstrate the idea. And I think that this slide is the most important slide that I'm going to show you in this lecture. First of all, we know that the explicit knowledge is in the outer layer. Okay, we do not see him as something that is disconnected from the tacit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is the outer layer of tacit knowledge. Okay, this is all the information, all the knowledge that we manage to verbalize and speak. And usually when we build the learning units in organization and different courses, the explicit knowledge is the most consensus, common level of knowledge that we can make general ideas out of. So this is the explicit knowledge. A little bit deeper, we can find a layer that I call HPK, hidden practical knowledge. And the idea is that people receive explicit knowledge, they learn explicit knowledge, how to do their job, and then they manage to interpret this knowledge into their world. And they start to come up with self-made techniques. And these self-made techniques can be very different from the explicit knowledge. They can be a different interpretation of the explicit knowledge. And at the end, this is the way of the work people to perform their job in a way that suits them and is better to reach their goals. So we can find many self-made techniques, many times, and many practitioners that work with the idea of eliciting tacit knowledge concentrate on these techniques. And this is why many times they hear many claims from those that support the other side of the dichotomy that this is not tacit knowledge. So we claim that this is the outer layer of the tacit knowledge. Okay, this is why we call it hidden practical knowledge, but it is connected to deeper levels and deeper layers that are inside the idea of tacit knowledge and interride with it. For example, if we go deeper, we will find RTK, reflective tacit knowledge. This is knowledge that is not in our awareness, it is near our awareness. We should provoke and create some kind of stimulation in order to float this kind of knowledge. And this kind of knowledge comes in the form of rules of thumb. Rules of thumb are some kind of a formula. If then, in this situation, you should do that. And if that happened, you should do that. Okay? So some kind of a formula. And we claim that these rules of thumb are a superstructure that actually guides the techniques at the level of hidden practical knowledge. So there is a connection. If I managed to find techniques in this layer, I should ask myself, what is the rule of thumb that guides these techniques? Let's go on deeper. In the most deeper level, we will find demonstrated tacit knowledge. This kind of tacit knowledge comes in the form of abilities. Usually, these abilities are actually integration of many reflective tacit knowledge items that come together. As we watched the video, we actually saw how people manage to ride bicycle and to surf in the wind. And they demonstrate how they do that, okay? We can reach their reflective tacit knowledge and hidden practical knowledge, but we can only demonstrate the way they do that. And we claim that if we manage to see the ability, we should infer and start asking what are the rules of thumb that are connected with this ability. And then to ask ourselves, what are the techniques that are connected with these rules of thumb? And in this way, we manage to to learn from this integration, to learn a lot. And we claim that all this is one phenomena. So we can see it from different sides, different angles, and understand different things. So people that look on the ability claim that we cannot extract this ability. And people that look on the techniques claim that we can extract tacit knowledge, but they actually look on the same phenomena from different angles. This is the outer layer, this is the inner layer, this is the layer that in the middle. Now, this model has two main contributions, and this is my main message in this lecture. First of all, the tacit knowledge can be classified by this model. This model helps us classify the items. Everyone that work and try to elicit tacit knowledge know that this knowledge comes in different forms. And let me a little bit elaborate on this idea. So if we speak, for example, on techniques, hidden practical knowledge, we will find different techniques that come from three main origins. One of them is things that people tried and saw that they managed to do, trial and error. For example, you saw the workman that works with the chair and throws the chair and he solves the task in half a time. Okay, he tried it and he managed to do that, so he started to do that. This is one origin of hidden practical knowledge. Another origin is integration with prior experience. Okay, for example, I was a teacher and I bring my ideas of how to make the pupils stay concentrated to a session in sales interactions, because today I'm a salesman. Okay, so we managed to integrate prior integration into the new tasks that we have in the new workplace. This is another origin of these techniques. And the third origin of these techniques is the constraints that we have in the workplace. Okay, you learned in the class something, and then you go to work and you see that you have half the time to do that. You see that you have to reconsider other people and other relationships. So you start to build new kinds of techniques in order to get the job done. And all of these techniques can be classified by this model as techniques. And in another side, I can take all the rules of thumb and put them in one category and try to find the connections between them and the techniques. One more thing about reflective tacit knowledge, I think that most of the methods that we speak about to elicit tacit knowledge, like story analysis, reflective interviews, critical event and critical decisions, all of them aimed to extract reflective tacit knowledge. So we will find many rules of thumb, and we should ask ourselves what is the connection to the techniques, and then start to ask ourselves what are the abilities. And the second contribution of this model is our ability to deepen the exploration of tacit knowledge, because I can infer from the existence of one layer to the existence of another layer. For example, if I manage to extract reflective tacit knowledge, different kinds of rules of thumb, I should look for the demonstrated tacit knowledge. I should ask myself, what are the abilities that are connected to these rules of thumb? So the exploration becomes much whole than an ordinary extraction of different items with no classification. So two contribution, one, classification, and second, we can deepen the exploration of tacit knowledge by this model. So imagine to yourself that every time that you sit with practitioners and you extract tacit knowledge, you should put this knowledge on this onion model and start exploring the tacit knowledge and its deeper layers. I would like now to move and speak a little bit about experts, because all of us try and aim to elicit very high quality tacit knowledge. We put a lot of effort in the process, so we want to gain the most effective tacit knowledge in the organization, and this is why we want to work with the experts, because we know that experts own high quality tacit knowledge that helps them solve complex problems. The problem with the experts is that they have specific attributes. First of all, they work like automatic pilot. Okay, they have automatic response. because they rely on a schema that created by experience. So they don't have to think about the process, they just do that. So many times that you will ask an expert to explain something, he will ask you to do the job. Okay, he will ask you to do the job for you. He will prefer to concentrate on the performance and not on the explanation, because this is a much more cognitive effort to start explaining what he's doing. They don't play by the book. We know by research that experts' knowledge is arranged differently. So many times when you compare the tacit knowledge of experts to novice work people in the workplace, you will find a huge difference. Okay, and this was also proved in different researches that experts' knowledge is arranged differently. They also like especially to concentrate on creating new knowledge, because this is what excites them, this is what provokes them, and actually floats their tacit knowledge. So they will concentrate on creating things and not on teaching things. Their main interest is to find better ways to solve problems. And usually they are far ahead. They manage to predict scenarios and solutions while we still try to understand the situation. I had such a case exactly with an expert and an engineer that managed to come up with a crazy solution that saved more than 2 years of work. And his colleagues didn't understand. How did he manage to come up with this solution? How did he manage to predict so many scenarios that we still did not understand? So this is something very ordinary. When you start to work with experts, you start to see this phenomena. I would like to demonstrate the idea of the onion model on my last research. My last research dealt with the idea of business negotiation experts, and I worked with them to elicit tacit knowledge. I had a group of 20 different business negotiation experts. Some of them are CEOs, some of them are private entrepreneurs. All of them deal on a daily basis with a lot of business negotiation interactions. They all have more than 10 years of experience, and they were all evaluated as experts by global experts in the field of business negotiation. And I also published an article on this idea. You can find it. If you want me, I can also send you the link. And during this case, I managed to elicit many different items of tacit knowledge. And I would like to show you 2 examples for the beginning. Okay, my first example is with a guy that has a business for building materials. So he sells building materials to people that want to renovate their house. Okay, sometimes they come alone, sometimes they come with the architect with them, or with the interior designer to these meetings. And the explicit knowledge that he relies on is that you should find ways to position yourself as an expert in front of a client. All of us want to buy or to reach a consultant that he's an expert, and he has to position himself. Okay, this is something known from negotiation, the idea of positioning. But now we want to speak about the hidden practical knowledge. This is his own technique. Okay, this is not something he learned in courses. He likes to use professional terms in foreign language. So why do you want to use professional terms in foreign language? Because this means that you understand the material that you claim to be a professional and an expert. But when you go deeper, you find that he has a rule of thumb. And this rule of thumb helps him prioritize and decide when to use this technique and when not to use this technique. For example, in order to keep your reliability, you should use this technique only at the presence of other professional practitioners. And he explained me the idea. He said, look, if I will use this technique without another practitioner, another colleague in the room, they will think that I try to show myself as someone very smart. Okay, but when there is an interior designer or some kind of an architect that works with the same jargon, I will be at the same level of their own experts, and I managed to position myself. So this is the idea of the reflective tacit knowledge. You can see that this rule of thumb guides the way and the timing and the prioritizing of this technique. And when I try to infer and understand what is the demonstrated tacit knowledge, what is the ability that this guy has, we found that the ability to establish trust with a variety of clients is an ability unique to him. This is something personal. This guy knows how to sell to a private, very simple client, and also to very complex people and complex firms and companies. Okay, and he has the ability to establish trust with variety of clients. This is something unique to this guy, and I can tell you that this ability has connection to this rule of thumb. It also has connection to other rules of thumb that we found, because as I said before, ability is usually an integration of different rules of thumb. Let me show you another example to make it more clear. Okay, this guy, for example, is a financial marketing agent. And the explicit knowledge is that you can use self-disclosure in order to establish rapport. Rapport is a situation that both sides feel empathy and sympathy. They feel close. It's some kind of a way to create a connection or a shared accord in the relationship. And the hidden practical knowledge, his own self-made technique, is that using self-disclosure during a routine talk with the client in a way that he will reveal new information about you in an indirect manner is something good. So he also uses to speak with clients when he goes with his family to trips. He can be by himself in the car and tell the other guy that calls him that he is on his way to pick his son from a basketball course. So with time, the client will reveal about him a lot of personal information. So I try to understand what is the reflective tacit knowledge. Okay, what is the rule of thumb that guides this hidden practical knowledge? And we found that the more the client will know about me, my personal life, the more I earn points in our evolving relationship. Okay, so this was gathered after I used one of the methods, okay, to evoke tacit knowledge, and this is the rule of thumb that came out. Now you can understand, okay, why he does so many efforts to reveal information about himself to the other guy. And when you try to understand what is the demonstrated tacit knowledge, the ability is the ability to project emotions. And as he said, when I speak about my family, I project something else. Okay, now he cannot teach us this something else that comes out of him when he speaks about his family. But he is aware to that idea, okay? So now he knows how to employ this ability and make it happen in real time. And in order to do that, he uses this hidden practical knowledge, okay? And in order to use this hidden practical knowledge, this technique, in the right way, he guides this technique by the rule of thumb that I showed in the reflective tacit knowledge layer. So you can see that all these three layers are intertwined together, and they together can show us the idea of tacit knowledge. So let's go further on and try to think, how can we learn from experts? And I claim that these methods can help us think on the organizational level. Think to yourself that we have many experts that we extracted their tacit knowledge. I can start categorizing this knowledge. I can use qualitative methods in order to categorize the knowledge, and then to build a conceptual model. This conceptual model can explain how exactly these experts work. And now I can start to combine it with existing explicit knowledge. I can identify abilities that can only be demonstrated and try to think, for example, whether I can learn these abilities from other practitioners, from other fields of knowledge, or whether I can recruit people that have similar abilities. I can create the process of tacit knowledge injection, okay? And I claim that you can come to novice work people in the workplace and inject them with tacit knowledge at the same time. I even did some project like that, and the results were amazing. We know that people have the ability to integrate both in the same time, both different channels of learning, and to integrate explicit knowledge with tacit knowledge, and they will manage to evolve much more faster. And think about the challenges of the workplace today. We want to overcome the skills gap. We know that we have a lot of changes in the workplace manpower, and this idea of tacit knowledge injection can override many of our challenges in the workplace. We can, on the basis of this combination, we can design learning units and start teaching the combined idea together for new comers into the organization. So this is the way we do that. And I can show you, for example, the conceptual model of the business negotiation. You can see that we can speak about 9 elements that come together in the interactions of a business negotiation. We can speak about preparation. We can speak about identifying strategies, personality assessment, self-monitoring, separation. What should I do in order to separate from another side that I don't want to keep on the business with him? Building rapport, self-positioning, delivering the message, and influencing. What is interesting is that when we extract the tacit knowledge, we manage to show what elements are more crucial. For example, preparation, building rapport, delivering the message, and influencing were the most dominant elements that I found in this specific research. So we can start understanding to understand that we don't teach exactly what happens in the field, and we can balance the way we teach when we understand exactly what is missing in our teaching model that relies usually on explicit knowledge. The tacit knowledge can show us what are the parts that are very hard to teach, and we can concentrate on these parts and make the learning process much more complete. So I'm about to end my lecture, and these are some takeaways that I would like you to take from this lecture. Tacit knowledge is not a myth. We should put our efforts in using its potential instead of arguing about definitions. I think that 50 years is enough, more than 50 years. From 66, from the day the term was coined, we can find the arguments. Tacit knowledge is not a term, but a phenomena. The conceptual dichotomy is a result of looking at this phenomena from different angles. So you can think about a group of things together. For example, furnitures. Okay, we have a chair, we have a table, we have a sofa. We cannot try to compare them. And this is one problem when you try to look on tacit knowledge and ask yourself on each view whether it is connected to the same phenomena or not. A phenomena is something whole. We have all these ideas together. So if you look tacit knowledge from the outer layer, you will see different things than if you look from the inner layer on the same phenomena. And this phenomena is ubiquitous. Okay, we can find this phenomena in everything we do. The onion model can help us classify different tacit knowledge items and extend the exploration of the existing tacit knowledge. These are the two contributions of this model, and I work with this model on a daily basis with experts in different domains, and I managed to reach good results that can be explained and can be taught to other people. We can use tacit knowledge in order to enhance learning, thereby resolve the skills gap and other problems at the new workplace. I think that tacit knowledge has a lot of contribution that we should manage to contribute to organizations, so they will manage to enhance the learning and deal with the idea of strong memory, strong organizational memory that allow them to help newcomers become a part of the organization and perform their task much easily. That is for now. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed the opportunity to contribute and share my thoughts about tacit knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asher. Thank you very much for your wonderful sharing, especially about the onion model, which helps us have a deeper understanding of tacit knowledge, and especially getting eyes how to explore further into the tacit knowledge. Thank you very much. And now, yeah, I think we have many questions from the audience, and now we enter the Q&A. 现在呢，我们进入问答环节，大家有问题的话，可以现在提问。And we have a lot of audience watching the webinar on different social platforms. And we also have some questions from them. And my colleague is collecting some of them, and the translator will put some of them in the chat box.
Okay.
大家有什么问题的话，可以现在提问，然后也可以就转给我们的工作人员，由我们工作人员，然后在这边问到我们的阿旭博士。
Doctor, this is Michelle. Thank you for sharing the ONI model. Personally, I like it very much. I have a question on from your experience. How do you think corporate culture, or say what type of role corporate culture play in apply this ONI model?
Okay, I guess you mean what is the effect of different cultures on the use of this model?
Or I mean, not different cultures. I'm thinking about a corporate incorporation in the business world. Each company have their own culture, and some are supportive, and the different type of, you know, especially for multinational companies.
Mm-hmm.
What type of role the corporate culture play in applying this model?
Well, this model is directed first to the. This is the beauty of this model, because this model is first of all directed to the personal level. So it's not important if you work in one corporation or another. The first thing we will do is to extract the tacit knowledge of the expert in this corporation. And afterwards, we will start to compare all the extracted tacit knowledge from different experts, and then we can build the teaching model. So it has no, actually, it shouldn't have any effect. But cultural, organizational culture has a lot of influence on the intention or motivation of people to share or to go through this process. So first of all, the first thing we do when we want to work with experts, especially experts that are about to retire from the organization, we have a process of a shared meeting with the board, with the senior management that give them all the respect. And we present the idea as a way to give an honorable place to this person before he leaves the organization. And most of the people really like it, okay, because they never had the chance to contribute all this knowledge in a methodological way. Usually they have to focus on the mission they have. So usually they really like it, and they feel that this also helps them to be responsible, because they have responsibility. They want to leave their legacy in the organization, and in this way I managed to do that. I hope I answered this question.
Yes. I'm thinking that's where we can use it. It's a good idea to leverage the people about to retire. I'm also thinking probably this is another good model to share with leaders who can separate their tacit knowledge when they do the coaching or mentoring. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
第一个问题就是来自我们的 Michelle， 然后他的问题是就是对于这个洋葱模型，就是我们在组织，就是比如说跨国企业，然后组织在运用这个洋葱模型的时候，企业文化会在里面起到什么样的作用？那Dan博士他在就是当初设计这个洋葱模型的时候，更多的是针对就是个人层面的，比如说专家，就是我们在组织内部如何就是从不同的专家那里，然后会获取隐性知识，然后从而在组织内部形成一个教学的模式。那这个文化的它可能会，比如说在这个过程当中，它可能会影响到就是我们这些专家，他就在比如说退休的时候，临头去退休的时候，他在组织内部，他愿意跟他人分享他的隐性知识的这个意图，他的动力。因为我们在特别很多专家在离职之前呢，我们都会给予他们组织内部给予他们足够的尊重和声望。那很多专家他们其实非常喜欢我们这个模型，因为其实在这之前他们也很少可能有机会去分享自己这么多年积累下来的一些经验，特别是他们的隐性知识。那这样呢也能够就是让他们的这个 就责任心，然后得到一定程度的就是发挥，然后特别是他们想就是在离开这个组织之前，能够为这个组织留一点什么，留下自己一点就是比较相对而宝贵的这些知识和经验。那此外，这个我们在组织内部做这个导师辅导项目或者是教练项目的时候，我们可能需要用到就是我们的这些资深人士在分享隐性知识的时候，我们也会就是用到这个洋葱模型，它对我们这方面也很有帮助。好，谢谢。那 thank you for your answer. Now the second question. 那第二个问题就是哪位朋友来问的 ？Doctor, I put a question in the chat box. How to put
implicit knowledge into the onion model. Okay, this goes back to what I said in the beginning. So implicit knowledge, procedural knowledge, and all the different terms that we started to hear are actually a result of the conceptual dichotomy, because people didn't agree about what is tacit knowledge. So they started to give different names to knowledge. Okay, procedural knowledge, implicit knowledge. But actually, all of them are part of the phenomena that I call tacit knowledge. Usually, implicit knowledge will be on the reflective practical knowledge layer. Okay, the middle layer in the onion model is exactly the layer of what we have, not in the conscious level, but near conscious level. So we can extract it with all the different methodologies of tacit knowledge elicitation. And this is exactly the result of the conceptual dichotomy. We start to invent different terms, and then we see that these terms only cover some part of the knowledge and not all the knowledge. So you should look on implicit knowledge, procedural knowledge as a part of the reflective practical reflective tacit knowledge, the middle layer in the onion model.
Thank you. 那第二个问题呢是，就是我们有一个术语叫做默会知识，叫 implicit knowledge。那我们就是博士是如何把就对于这个知识就如何体现在这个洋葱模型里？我们在前面博士有讲到一个就是概念上的一个二元论，就是有很多人他是不认同隐性知识这个词，然后他们各自就使用了很多不同的词，这个词就很多也包括什么个人化的知识、程序性的知识，或者包括这个默会知识。那其实这些知识它都属于隐性知识的一部分。那准确的来讲，这个默会知识它是属于我们隐性知识这个洋葱里面中间的一层，就是反思性隐性知识，它是比较就是接近人的意识的这个知识，然后是可以就是通过一些方法，然后将它萃取出来的。那这些术语不管是默会知识啊，还是程序性的知识，它只能代表就是隐性知识中的一部分。那么总体而言是把它放在这个隐性知识中的中间这一层的。Thank you for your answer. 那我们
Okay.
There is another question in the chat box.
Yes.
From Sunshine.
Okay. I'm wondering another question. Could we explore the onion model to the next several levels, such as life values, talent, genius, etc.? Wow, that's a great question. You know that I actually find myself deal with this question exactly in other things that I do. For example, when I work with leaders on their own perceptual beliefs on what is their role perception, okay, we usually find exactly these ideas of life values and assumptions. And I think that when you start to look on the rules of thumb, okay, at the reflective tacit knowledge, and you start to dig what is standing behind them, you usually find some rules of thumb that are connected to life values, especially to life values. And I think that when you zoom into the demonstrated tacit knowledge and you start to try to understand the abilities that you see, you can find talents, you can find very specific skills that are sometimes looks like magic. So I think this is a part of it. Okay, so this is why we say that tacit knowledge is, first of all, is personal, because it is connected to our own values, our own beliefs, and also our own inherited talents and even personality. Okay, so you always have some implications that you can conclude during these interviews with experts, and you start to understand these ideas. Sometimes you can understand why this specific expert does not blend with the cultural, the organizational culture, okay, because of some certain beliefs that lead him to develop a unique tacit knowledge, that with this tacit knowledge he manages to perform better than others, but it doesn't mix with the organizational culture. Okay, we also find these phenomena.
那第三个问题呢是，就是关于这个洋葱模型，我们是否能够进行就是更深入的探索，就是更把它更深层次的内容结合起来，像比如说我们的人生价值，像我们的天赋，就是才能以及人才这方面等等。那首先这个就是我在跟很多就是领导者一起共事的时候呢，我们也就是触及到他们的，比如说他们的人生的信仰，他们的就是人生观、价值观，以及他们对自己角色的一个认知。那在回到这个洋葱模型上面，比如说我们说到这个中间一层就是反思性隐性知识。反思性隐性知识的时候，我们常常就是会就想，就是在这个反思性隐性之后，就是这个背后他人生价值的背后，就是关乎到他背后的哪些东西。那我们在挖到这个示范性隐性知识的时候呢，我们也会去看就是对方的这个能力，就是他这个能力，然后这个能力是比如说他在就是各个技能方面的能力，他能做到的，别人不能做到的，以及他就是可能具有了一些特殊的才能，等等这方面的能力。那我们在看隐性知识的时候呢，比如说我们跟这个领导人就是跟他们谈话访谈的时候，我们也会去看就是他背后可能涉及到他的哪些信仰价值观，包括他的一些个性，我们都是可以就是从他的这个就通过这个记住这个洋葱模型，然后跟对方比如说进行跟专家领导者进行谈话的时候，然后可以深挖他背后的这些可能价值观，他的这些理念等一等。那另外就是我们在刚刚也提到了一个就是组织文化的话题，因为我们比如说组织内部我们可能有专家之间可能想，比如说我们相互之间可能有一种竞争，就是我跟你就是我的表现如何，你的表现又怎样的。那有些专家他在这个日常的工作当中，他并没有很好的去结合组织的文化，没有在他的工作中就是很好的融合组织的文化，所以他的表现就相对而言不如其他专家那么好。那这个话题呢，就是总的来说，就是我们是可以通过这个洋葱模型，就是去深挖，就是对方的我们比如说专家他身后他的价值观啊，他的人生信仰等等是可以的。Thank you, Dr. Dan. Thank you for your great answers.
You're welcome.
I think, and that's all for the questions. And that's all for today's webinar. And thank you very much for your wonderful sharing.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Thank you. 然后我们现在呢进行一个下期的预告。下期预告是由来自澳大利亚的 Bruce Boyce 先生，然后他是即将在4月17号，然后跟我们分享他带来的话题是跳出3界外不在五行中，他会谈一谈优秀管理者是如何学习隐性知识管理的。那感兴趣的朋友可以扫右方的二维码，然后报名参加本次的讲座，也可以到直播间里跟我们的嘉宾直接面对面互动。那在这里我们也同时跟大家分享几个好消息，一个是我们欧洲导师与教练协会 EMCC 中国开放日，我们在每个月的最后一个周六的下午，然后会举办这个开放日活动。最近一期呢是在4月29日的下午2点到 5点地点是在中庚环球转移中心。这个活动呢是免费的通过这个开放日活动呢，大家会见到我们 EMCC 总裁，他会有致辞，然后大家会进一步的了解 EMCC， 然后 EMCC 在中国的发展，然后我们到时也会有就是我们往届获得 EMCC 认证的导师跟大家做经验分享，然后让大家了解如何加入我们 EMCC 这个大家庭，以及如何获得我们 EMCC 全球认证这个导师的认证。那关于如何获得这个导师认证呢，我们是即将在下个月，在5月，然后会开启就是新一期的课程。那这个课程呢，我们会是面向就是大家感兴趣的话，可以扫下方的2维码，然后进一步的了解，然后报名。那我们这个课程就是会获得，如果到时候大家就是能够顺利通过我们这个认证的话，那这个导师的认证它会是在140多个国家通用的。那很多人可能对导师有所了解，或者是了解不多。那关于这个导师呢，我们说到专业的导师辅导，它有5类的，有5句金句。首先第一句是导师，他能够帮助学员去选对方向，做对事。我们只有导师在帮助学员明确方向以后，才能够去激励挖掘学员的潜能。那第二个是在导师在帮助学员达成目标的过程当中，他同时呢也能够做到帮助学员提升他的能量和状态。第三个是导师他能够帮助学员既激活他内在的资源，也能够激活外在的资源。第四个是我们导师辅导的成果可以被量化。那在这个过程当中，我们设定的这个 KPI、KBI 和 ROI 都是可以被有效的计量和比较的。那最后一点呢，也是我们导师辅导的一个特色，就是导师他会具备组织隐性技能萃取这样的一个技能。那懂得技能萃取的导师，他不仅能够向学员传承自己的经验和智慧，还能够萃取到他人的技能，然后帮助到学员。那我们非常欢迎大家能够报名参加我们新一期的导师认证课程，也非常欢迎大家加入 EMCC 这个大家庭，就是让我们一起来开启一个没有天花板的视野。最后我们也跟大家分享一下，就是我们第2届的组织隐性技能管理论坛，然后即将在今年的9月3号到5号在瑞士达奥斯举行。那关于进一步的这个参会详情以及门票信息，大家可以点击最下方的官方网址，然后进一步了解，是 3w.GO-TKM.org。那同时如果大家有意向去报名的话，可以扫这个右方的2维码，然后加入我们这个达沃斯论坛报名意向群，然后可以去进一步了解更多的信息。好，今天的讲座就到这里，非常感谢大家的参与，我们下一期再见。